Hello, brilliant and embodied souls. My name is Kim. Welcome to and welcome back to my channel. I'm the Somatic Sorceress, and I'm so glad that you are here. Pips with personalities. My love of Pip Decks has grown. I want to talk a little bit about my journey with Pip Decks, then show you some of my favorites that have caught my eye over the last few years as my love of Pip Decks has grown. It is kind of it's a dreary, cold day here in Northern California, so hopefully the light is going to stick with us here. But yeah, I'm all cozied up and just kind of in some feels. The last while has been a deep emotional roller coaster for personal and collective reasons. I've really been doing a lot of inner work, so I needed to have a little bit of fun. So I hope this video serves to bring a little bit of fun, a little bit of lightheartedness into your life. That's just a touch of the medicine that I need right now. Okay, my journey with Pip Decks. One of the first readings I ever got was done with a Pip Deck. My friend had the Jungian Tarot, which is austere pips. 3 cups, 3 swords, 3 wands, 3 pentacles. Very boring. I'll just say it. That was my initial attitude towards Pip Decks. They're austere, boring, cold, uninventive. There it is, folks. There it is. Because of this attitude, I didn't really get into Marseille decks. I've never been attracted to, again, just like that straight up Pip kind of deck. That said, I've been drawn to Pips with personalities. Pip decks that have information within the Pips, but aren't so cold and austere. I want to show you some of mine momentarily, but another poetic waxing about why Pips with personalities are so good. For me, they create a lot of room for interpretation, and that's what other people would say about even, the austere Pips, right? There's so much room for interpretation. You can use a playing card deck. In this manner, creating room for elemental and numerological information to guide the reading, as opposed to the more locked in interpretations that we find in Golden Dawn decks, like the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, or even the Thoth deck. More on that later. So the expansiveness, the openness really allows for intuitive hits. I do think that people who identify as psychics would maybe agree with me here. Pip decks lend themselves to that psychic ability even more than scenic cards do, scenic Pips. So as my tarot reading abilities have grown and deepened, I've been able to cultivate my intuition more and more and more. I don't identify as psychic. I do identify as highly intuitive. Ergo, Pip decks have started to speak to me in a very new and profound way. That openness is very appreciated by me. Okay, we've talked about my journey with Pip Decks. Let's look at some. The penultimate Pip Deck with personality, the Wild Unknown. Everybody has seen this deck, so I won't, go into it too much. My light is gonna maybe give us a little bit of trouble and glare, but we'll do our best. The personality of these pips is very witchy and energetic. For me, this deck, if it was a person, would be a Reiki practitioner and a magical practitioner. They understand the energy body. When I look at the pips in this deck and transpose them onto my body, like feel the card in my body, I get energetic waves, tingles, and the sensations that I tap into guide the reading in a unique and powerful way. This card is a phenomenal example of that. You feel the burden, you feel the confusion, your passions have gone off the rails. Now you're in the brambles, really having to reconsider your choices. Yeah. Oh, and okay, yeah, even though this isn't the pip, a minor, the sun card, right? Oh, like the sun energy just radiates off of these cards. I didn't, when I first got this deck, I didn't get along with it because I didn't have that relationship with Pip Decks that I spoke about earlier. I didn't know what to do with this until, again, my understanding of the tarot, my more embodied way of approaching the cards grew. When those things got online, this deck really started to sing for me. It's a mass market deck, so I enjoy taking it with me to places. I'm not worried about it getting messed up. Again, coming back to its personality, there is kind of a Sagittarian quality to it, at least for me. It loves going places. It does speak the truth in sometimes harsh terms, but it's loving. It just wants to tell you like it is. And go with you to deep places within yourself. So, right, the traveling is both outer travel as well as inner travel. Okay, let's talk about a similar but different Pip deck. I have the Wooden Tarot. This is a indie deck by Skull Garden. You can find it on Etsy. This deck has also been around for quite a while. This deck is super nature-based, but bizarre, incredibly bizarre. This deck is into nature hikes, camping, backpacking. Oh dear, what's going on here? When it goes out into nature, it brings mushrooms with it, and is going on a vision quest. There is a lot of hallucinatory elements to this deck, which lends itself to certain types of readings. I'm drawn to this deck in questions of land guidance, questions related to animal guidance, questions that require a slightly non-human answer. I also find myself drawn to this deck during liminal times of the year, so the spring and fall. This deck has a lot of mutability, a lot of changeability. If I'm looking to bring those qualities into my life, I might go for this deck. The pips are just so strange. You know, some of them are a little bit more basic than others, while some of them can be certainly elaborate. Others more basic. This is a great example of one of the ones that's a touch more elaborate. It's a weird one. This is a weird one. And I love it. I love it for its quirkiness, its strangeness, and its vision quest energy. Let's take a look at another highly witchy deck, and that is the Tarot of the Sorceress. This is a rock pool deck. This deck calls to me during the winter solstice here in North America. The black and white contrast lends itself to that time of the year. The author does say that the meanings in the guidebook are Marseille inspired, which I would agree with. Again, lots of wiggle room, a lot of openness and neutrality within the pips and the cards in general. And yet its theme is incredibly strong. This is a deck that is oriented towards pagans, towards people who are interested in nature-based spirituality, and certainly witches. There's a lot of talk of the Wheel of the Year within this deck. The Sabbats are represented in the majors. The minors, since we are here talking about pips with personality, have a theme that runs across the number. So for example, 8s are all plants. Let's see, what else do we got here? I think the 2s are like times of day. Let me see what else is going on here. You've got crystals. Which number was the crystals? Let me see here. You know, the 5s are like all candles. So you have magical materia represented in the cards, making this deck's personality, again, very witchy, very pagan. A deck for connecting with those elements of spirituality. This deck likes to think of itself as a psychic. Even though I don't think of myself as a psychic, this deck thinks of itself as one, and so I feel a little bit more psychically empowered when working with it. I've got to put these decks away, otherwise chaos ensues around here. Okay, let's talk about, I mentioned it earlier, but a Thoth deck. This is actually a Thoth clone, the Maria Tarot. When I first saw a Thoth deck years ago, I was perplexed The color combinations felt eerie to me. It's like when you're listening to certain songs, and I'm not a musician, but you know, there's kind of like an off key, but the offness does a lot for you and creates a really specific experience. The Thoth is like music of that ilk. The Pips have so much personality. Again, when I first saw a Thoth deck, my thought was, there is so much going on here. I have no idea what that is, but I know something is going on here. I can feel it. I can sense it. There's magic here. There is deep magic to be had here. As a clone, this specific deck is lush. It comes on really fantastic linen cardstock. Oh, Lima's decided to join us. She wanted to come and say hello to you. So this is a really fun deck to shuffle and just physically work with. Additionally, the not Pip, I mean, we're here to talk about Pips with personality. However, what I will say about this specific deck is that the people, so the majors and courts, have been reconsidered with more diversity in mind. And they're not modern. However, there's a more contemporary feel to this clone, making it one of my favorite decks to work with. The Pips are incredibly vivid. Lady Frida Harris's artwork is already masterful, brilliant, evocative. But then the Pips here feel even more alive. So they took a good thing and made it great. There's just such a vitality and vibrancy to this clone specifically. Oh my gosh, I love this Queen of Cups. Oh, she's gorgeous. Coming back to the Thoth in general, with regards to Pips, they're packed with information. And so once I dove into that information and could see the layers upon layers upon layers within the deck, I had a intellectual love affair with the Thoth, and as well as a spiritual love affair. This deck, Thoth decks take themselves very seriously. They're not messing around. They don't want you to mess around. They want you to see the tarot, yes, as a divinatory tool, and much, much more. This deck wants you to grow up. This deck wants me to grow up. And I love it for its continued prodding and pushing to develop myself as a magical practitioner. My final Pips with personality deck is the Night Sun Tarot. If you saw my standout decks video, you know how this deck came in to my collection with a bang last year. There are people and some landscapes within some of the Pips. Other Pips are very straight up Pip, austere Pip. That said, like like the themes of Pips with Personality, this deck has a lot of wiggle room and neutrality, as opposed to a RWS deck. That neutrality and openness, again, lends itself to new types of interpretations and really getting into the felt sense of a reading. My felt sense with this deck has led me to profound readings about the future. I do use this deck in a divinatory function, most assuredly. This deck also loves to come out for guidance on my spiritual development or developing rituals. I consult this deck when considering the flow of magic in my life. I am somebody who strives to join with the flow of magic as opposed to opposing it. So, right, getting a sense of what will happen if I do this specific type of ritual? Does that actually benefit me and my cause? What's the fallout? This deck is incredibly helpful in answering those types of questions. This deck wants me, like the Thoth, to grow up, embrace my power. What else do I want to say about this deck that I did not say in my standout deck video? I said in that video that it's gritty. It is. There's a seductive quality about this deck. There is nudity. There's this feeling of eroticism and sensuality in this deck, but eroticism and sensuality through the lens of power, and how power can feel seductive, sensual, erotic. There's a lot to be learned within the intersection of sensuality and power. Some of those lessons are harsh and difficult lessons, and some of them are deeply empowering and nurturing lessons. It is not a either or with this deck. There's a lot of maturity within this deck that I love. It feels really good to have this deck in my collection. Yeah. I hope that you have enjoyed this exploration of Pips with Personality. Please leave me a comment and tell me your favorite Pip deck. I'm on the hunt, but mind you, right, it needs personality. It cannot be straight up austere Pips. I got no time for that. Give me a little art, give me a little flavor, give me a little zhuzh. Thank you so much for stopping by and spending time with me and Lima. I will see you in the next video. Take care until then.